And standing by is General Manager Sonny Mehta, and he is going to join me now. Sonny, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I gotta ask you though, because I think this is my first live stream
Okay.
interview. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think so. Where is that music from? That intro music? Did you write that, or like where did that music come from?
That is some non-copywritten music that my producer found, and he plays it over, and that's our intro. So he credit to Sean there. He does great work behind the scenes to make all the magic happen here. I'm just the talking head. He does all the work. He does all the real stuff here.
I love this. This is so good. I feel like I'm in like a Kevin Smith movie or something. Like this is like it's like I feel like I'm in an indie flick. This is
Oh,
great.
that's that's incredible. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, I know that it's been a really busy summer for you. And listen, you and I, we chatted a little bit at your introductory press conference, but you've been a busy man. I want to start with you though. You're back in New Jersey. You grew up here. What's one of the first experiences that you revisited after returning, and what did you miss most about being in New Jersey?
So, full disclosure, I actually had kept my place here in New Jersey. So even the
Okay.
whole 6 years that I was in Florida, my wife and I kept our place up here. And so I still, I would spend my summers up here. And so I mean, I was still here, probably at least a third of the year or something like that. Being back full time, it's awesome. It's unbelievable. Obviously, when I got here in April, beautiful time of year weather-wise, and just great to have the classic favorites on the restaurant rotation back in the regular rotation. So that's nice. Yeah, great to be back.
What's one of those restaurants that you visited recently? What's one of your favorites?
Oh man, I don't know if I want to give away some of my blow up any spots, but like I guess I could probably give River Palm Terrace in Edgewater. Awesome steakhouse. Um, Jersey staple, great bartenders, great people, great steak, great sushi. One of our favorites.
Love it, love it. We're gonna get to on the ice now, though, and it's been like I said, busy summer for you. Some roster turnover here, some new faces, and then some faces that have left. But I want to start with one of the bigger news pieces that happened this summer, when you offer sheeted for Barrett Hayton. Now that that is settled and Utah matched, just take us behind the scenes there. Why Barrett Hayton, and when did you identify him as a target for your team?
Yeah. So, I mean, no different. Like we liked Hayton, obviously, but Hayton is one of many players that we like. I mean, in a lot of these situations, we're trying to improve the roster. We've got a list of players and targets that we think might make sense under certain circumstances, depending on availability, depending on price, depending on cap hit. Hayton was one of them. I get why the whole offer sheet thing it has an allure because it's up till this point been somewhat rare and it's exciting and unique and all that for fans. Honestly, for us, it was just it's kind of it's just a mechanism in the CBA that we can use to try to get players. And so Hayton was one of those players we thought for a bunch of things lining up, this might make sense. Utah obviously was well within their rights to match, and they matched, and it's all good. There's no hard feelings or anything. We move on. That's just kind of how it works.
I want to stick with the offer sheets for a second, just because as a GM, do you feel there's been this shift in power toward the players here? Obviously, we saw what happened right after the offer sheet with you guys, out in Anaheim to Leo Carlson. And we're seeing a lot more players have this bold, I guess, wherewithal to request trades. And just from your perspective, are you seeing this shift to the players in terms of the power and perhaps where they see their futures as players and where they want to be?
I think it probably is unique in terms of we haven't really seen this level of aggressiveness, say 20 years ago. Um, I don't know necessarily that that's going to be predictive of what might it be in 5 years from now. Like it's also possible that this happened to be just a point in time where it happened a few times, and we won't necessarily see a ton of that going forward. Um, Obviously, it's pretty highly correlated with having a full no move. I mean, that's when the player has max leverage, and even though a lot is made of the whole full no move thing and the no move clauses, for me, at the end of the day, like it's a marketplace. Teams are trying to compete for players, and players are trying to compete for jobs, and it's kind of that simple. Like if a player has a lot of leverage in order to get a no move, and he's got that negotiated, it's been fairly negotiated, then he's going to sometimes have the optionality to use leverage, and other times it'll be in the team's favor. So we'll see.
It somewhat leads me to the Jack Hughes question here. You're active on social media, so you've probably seen the conversations about uniting the brothers, and obviously that's something that Florida has done with the Kachuk brothers. And I know you can't comment on specifics here, but I want to start with obviously 4 years left on Jack Hughes' contract. How are you preparing to navigate the new environment of this kind of boldness from players? Where they seem to have some of this leverage in choosing their situations. I know you mentioned trade protection. Jack has some, maybe not full, but how do you prepare for this kind of thing in the future now that you're seeing it play out in front of you?
So first of all, I would say I'm on social media. I would not say I'm active on social media.
Okay.
If I were going to be active on social media, especially like after the first time we go on a 3-game losing streak, I think I'm going to, I think my wife might murder me. I think there's people coming to murder us.
Of course.
But to answer your question, I haven't, obviously I can't comment on Quinn. I mean, he's not our player. It's, he plays for another team. As far as Jack, I don't know. Like that's not really something I'm thinking about right now. I mean, he's 4 years left. He's on a great contract. He's one of the best players in the league. It's frankly, of all the things I have to deal with, that is not really one that I pay a lot of thought to. I mean, it's other than me just being super pumped that we have him on our team at his contract, so there's not much to think about from my perspective.
Yeah. So further to that, then just what can you share about your relationship with Jack and, your confidence in him and his Devils future? Just how has that relationship formed and what can you tell us about how that's going for you?
Yeah, great. Both Jack and Luke, have had multiple conversations with, and just can't say enough great things in terms of, I said this in my press conference, and it's more true now 3 months later, where I just think he's always been an exciting player, but I'm particularly excited now to see him at this particular time and juncture in his career at 24, 25 years old, hitting that kind of part of the aging curve where we tend to see players really kind of come into their own. And, hopefully now with some of the changes we've made around him, it's not just him, but the whole team. I'm just excited to see how all the interplay will happen and the chemistry will kind of continue to blossom.
Yeah, and a player that, has said that he wants to play with Jack, you just signed Anthony Mantha. He mentioned, your analytics were a big part of what drew him here and drew you to him. He does have some injury history, though he had a healthy 2025-26. How much did that come into consideration for you before signing the player in making that decision? And what role do you envision for Anthony Mantha going into 2025-26? I know Sheldon will have, control of the lineup, but what do you envision that looking like?
Good question. So a couple things. It's funny you bring up the injuries history, because for us, we discussed that at length. And if anything, that was almost a positive that drew us towards wanting to bring him in, specifically in that, he was coming off ACL surgery. In spite of coming off ACL surgery, he had a really good year last year. And by and large, when you do your research on this stuff, a lot of times it takes a minimum of 18 months to come off of, like, to really fully recover from ACL. So our thought process was almost like, we're buying even lower than we sort of think maybe, because if he was this good when he may not have even been 100% coming off ACL, what's he going to be like in year 2 out of the ACL surgery? Like, there could be even more potential to than we even saw in this past year. As far as where he plays and slots in the lineup, yeah, like you said, ultimately that's up to Sheldon. I've already talked about it a little bit with Sheldon, and to some extent, I laugh a little bit about these lineup questions because, as we all know, we can make these lineups and pencil them and argue about them for the next 2 months, and then we start the season with one thing, and then 3 games in, the lines are all completely shuffled and they're completely so there is that aspect of it. Having said that, yes, I do agree with what you're saying, that there is an interesting thought. There's there's something interesting about the idea of potentially having a player who's 6'5", 240, and has this hands and the skill and the skating that he does to potentially play with a guy like Jack and even Jesper. But we'll see. We're just happy to have him.
There's only 32 GM jobs, Sonny. We're all just armchair GMs, just hoping to one day have the wherewithal to make those decisions. But
Right.
I wanted to move over to the blue line a second, and there's not much turnover there. You moved Nemec, but otherwise the group looks largely familiar with the addition of Chisholm and some depth additions as well. Did your model suggest that maybe this group should have performed better than they did last season? And what are your expectations of a guy like Dougie Hamilton and Luke Hughes this year? Specifically with Hamilton, there was a sense that before he got here, he might not have been in New Jersey much longer. Just, what are your expectations of the blue line and, really largely keeping it together?
Yeah, bunch of stuff to unpack there. I like our blue line a lot. I thought that in addition to it necessarily being a model thing, I think also you have to keep in mind the injury stuff, right? Like Pesci spent a lot of last year not playing. Kovacevic was coming off an injury. So I think even just getting this group back fully healthy, and Luke too, having the whole group healthy will be huge in terms of, like, we didn't really see this group in its at full strength last year. On each of those guys, you brought up Nemec. I said it before, but I had a great conversation with Shimon. I think there were a bunch of different ways we could have gone with that. It wasn't necessarily that we were looking to force him out of here or move him or anything. I just think at the end of the day, we couldn't turn down the offer from Calgary. Calgary was, and kudos to them, they're aggressive about what they wanted to give. It was something we couldn't turn down. We decided that was the best move at that time. Chisholm is so he's actually a player that I long have had an affinity for. We tried to get him a few times when I was at the Panthers, unsuccessfully, obviously. But yeah, he's a player that I've liked for years. I can specifically, he's mobile. He's a great skater. He's got hockey sense. He's, again, he's right in that age range that we're kind of looking for. And even on top of that, I think back in the day, I watched a bunch of video on him back when he was playing in Manitoba in the AHL. And, I think if people ever went back and look at some of that stuff when he was playing regularly, he's got an element to him that's really dynamic. So I'm pretty excited about him. You brought up Luke. Yeah, again, 23 years old, looking, in that 22, 24-year-old range is where you see guys kind of hit that rising part of the age curve. I'm excited to see with his skating ability and everything. I'm excited to see him take the next steps. And who else was it? Oh, Dougie. Yeah, of course. Dougie, it's not just analytics, but I think at the end of the day, I've said this before, it's about out-chancing and outscoring other teams. Dougie helps us do that. So I think particularly the balance that we'll have this year with a good kind of dispersion of defensive-leaning guys, puck-moving guys, I think I'm pretty excited about our back end.
And lastly, that brings me to the crease. You have 3 goaltenders now. You didn't the last time we spoke. You sounded like you were pretty excited about Nico Dawes getting a shot, but obviously Jake Allen and David Rittich are here. Are we just looking at a crease by committee approach and some internal competition?
So yeah, again, that's another one where it wasn't like we were. I think one thing that needs to be talked about with the goaltending is that a big impetus for us moving Markstrom wasn't just because, hey, we wanted to get rid of Markstrom. I fully expect Markstrom to bounce back and have a good year. He's a good. I spoke with him. He's a good guy. He's dedicated. I expect him to be better. For us, it was more just a couple things. Number one, being able to get back a player like Evan Rodriguez in return in that trade was just huge for us in this organization. Not just because of the depth that he gives us at forward and his on-ice utility, being able to play up and down the lineup. He's a sneaky good defensive player, but also just off-ice, kind of what he's going to bring culturally and character-wise in the locker room. I mean, he's going to come in here as a two-time Stanley Cup champion. He's been through the rigors. I know him from my time in Florida, obviously, just really excited to have him. And then the other thing is, yes, as you alluded to, I think, when you have a prospect like Dawes, at some point, they got to have an opportunity to showcase what can they do. This is that opportunity for Dawes, as far as committing to like a committee or committing to like who's the starter. I don't know, man. Like, to me, that's not necessarily the question, because I think we'd all agree, like, as you see more and more in recent times, teams are getting away from the like 72 game a year starting goaltender. People are doing a more, I don't know if committee's the right approach, but in the same way that you need multiple running backs in the NFL to get through a season. I don't know, is goaltending getting to that point where these guys are all so good? The position itself is highly demanding. So I just think at the end of the day, it's my job to give us options, to give us optionality, to give us depth. And I think where these guys play is, it's going to be up to them, right? Like, whoever plays well is going to play. It's that simple.
Well, I think you've heard enough from me. I got a few fans in the chat that want to ask you a question. You got time for one or two questions here?
Sure. Perfect. How could this go wrong? Bunch of fans asking questions. Let's go.
Don't worry, we're not going to put you right into the fire here. We're going to get you some good ones. Sean, let's bring up one of the first ones you found here, and let's get it for Sonny. So Zach Shin says, was there a signing or a trade that could have happened but didn't, and you wish had?
I'll take the easy out here and say, like, obviously, we offer sheeted Barrett Hayton, so he's a player that I would have liked on my team. It obviously tells you that we like the player, so that's an easy one.
Certainly, I definitely I understand that one. I got another one here from Zach Shin. It says, "Do you have any insight on the new third jersey?"
I do not. I have no insight into the third jersey.
And lastly, another one here from Sonic. It says, "Sonny, thank you so much for doing this and taking time for New Jersey Devils fans. As you made all your transactions, what is your vision for the team makeup? What's your goal, and what kind of team/style of play are you looking to make up here?"
It's funny. Yeah, I got asked this at my press conference. I'll say the same thing that I said then, which is just that I don't personally believe that there's one style that a team has to play to be successful. I saw it firsthand in Florida, where we played a pretty distinct style at the Panthers, but right across the state, the Tampa Bay Lightning played a completely different style, and they were highly successful. So I think that, style-wise, I'm less concerned about chasing a certain style, like we need this type of player or we need this type of style. To me, I just want to get good players. That's it. I have a salary cap. I want to try to fit as many good players under that salary cap as humanly possible, and that's really my goal.
That's all I got from here, Sonny. I thank you for taking the fan questions. Thank you for sitting here with us today on the Devil's Rig Report. Excited to have you on today. Hope to do it again in the future, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. And let me know if I got to work again and there's going to be something coming down the line, because I know there's a lot of time left between now and September.
You got it, James. Send me some of that music. That's some good guitar riff.
You got it, Sonny. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You got it. Thanks, guys.